I got revenge on my ex-girlfriend for cheating on me. This happened years ago when I was around 18 and dating a girl I had gone to high school with. We had been together for about a year, and towards the last month of our relationship things started to die out. We wouldn't talk as much and she never had time for me. She claimed she was always working at her family's grocery store. Her family had their own business for years. It was a small grocery store that at one point while I was in between jobs I even worked at for a short time. Her family was lovely and I and her father got along great and still chat every now and then because I was always working or studying, didn't party, and had set goals for myself early in life which her father thought was awesome. So anyway, back to our relationship. Because we both worked we only had the weekends free, so usually, we would do our best to spend time with each other, but she had grown distant and I hadn't thought anything of it. But one weekend I receive a call from a friend of mine who tells me she had seen my girlfriend out with another guy. I didn't want to believe it, I was devastated. But I thought before I throw any accusations I would get my own proof first. It took me almost 3 weeks to convince her to spend time with me. When she agreed and came over for a night after work, I had planned on confronting her to find out for myself. She arrived shortly after dark and told me she was going to have a shower. She went into the bathroom but had left her phone with her bag and keys on the table. So I did what anyone who has been told they were being cheated on would do, I went through to see for myself. And what do you know, she was cheating on me with her ex-boyfriend who was a dirtbag. You see, he was one of the kids at school that messed around, never came to school. Was out smoking and drinking instead. I never really interacted with him outside of being asked for a lighter for a cigarette. But he was also selling drugs at school. I've always thought people who sell drugs to kids are dirtbags. Not cool at all, bro. I found out she had been going to see him on the weekends to party as well as sleeping with him. There were messages talking about how I was too nice or focused on work too much. How she's only with me because her family loves me and I can handle that if you tell me that, not cheat on me because of it, I would rather leave a relationship freely. This hit me really hard and messed with my perception of women afterwards. I had never been cheated on before and didn't know how to handle the feeling. But I wasn't going to let her do me like that. Here comes the sweet revenge. You see, in those messages they had been talking about needing money for alcohol or drugs and not having enough. This conversation led to him convincing her to steal it from her family business. She had been getting away with almost $800 or so every weekend as well as stealing items from their shop. So I thought fast, screenshot all the messages, and sent them to her father from her phone. I told him it was me, and that this is what I had found on his daughter's phone. Shortly after she had finished up in the shower, I told her we were finished and I knew everything. I told her to leave and I had a surprise for her when she got home to which she was confused about. She left after that and I received a call from her dad who has apologized to me for his daughter's actions and sounded almost as devastated as I was. He told me he had already called the police and they were waiting for her to get back home as well as collecting her ex-boyfriend as an accomplice. I was shocked but thankful that I had cut the dead weight from my life in a just fashion considering she cheated on me. She got to spend the night in a cell with her ex and was ordered to pay back the amount by a judge and given community service. He on the other had happened to have previous warrants out and I don't know what happened to him after. I wiped my hands clean of her and moved forward. But man, that felt so much better that she at least got some punishment as a result. Revenge on ex-girlfriend. Karmic edition. Beginning. I was born in India. When I was 10 I moved to a small country town in Australia when my dad got a job here. It sucked. I was small, fat, brown, had an accent and didn't understand the culture. A bunch of racist nutjobs at school bullied me and life sucked. Thankfully I kept my grades up and got a scholarship to study science at a major university in a major city. During my first day of tutorials at university, I noticed there is a shy, awkward-looking chubby Indian girl sitting by herself. Her name was Ronnie and she too was from a rural town. She had just moved up here with her second cousins. We quickly bonded over how bad high school was and how nice it was to be in a multicultural city. We ended up having a lot of mutual interests and joined the same societies/clubs at our university: video games, board games, Indian cultural clubs, ballroom dancing, etc. Within a month or so I asked her out, first girl I ever asked, and she said yes. We dated in secret and became each other's first everything: kiss, love, relationship, sexual partner, etc. After a year of secret dating, she moved into my apartment. Life was fantastic. We never fought, had zero problems, had similar hobbies plus friends, constantly attracted to each other, screwed every day, etc. It was perfect, just two lovebirds building a life together. Problem. Well, after dating in secret for 2 years, we decided to meet each other's families. My parents are conservative Muslims but knew I was going to date around. They were just happy I had chosen an Indian girl they could relate to. Her parents initially were very harsh and aggressive. However, when they met me, they immediately fell in love with me. The only problem was they wanted us to get married. Ronnie and I had already talked about this. We both wanted to get into medical school after our bachelors. We both wanted a family and the white picket fence, but we had both decided to wait on that until after medical school. However, after meeting her parents and some introspection, I decided to speed up the plan. My plan was to ask her for a hand in marriage in 2 years' time when we'd finished our bachelors. We would get married in the 5-month break after university, do a bit of travel, have a honeymoon, and then commence medical school as husband and wife. In the meantime, I decided I was going to lose all my excess weight and become the attractive groom she deserved. Both she and I were overweight and we never had any issues with our weight and attractiveness to each other, and I didn't care if she remained that way for the rest of our lives. I just wanted to improve myself and make myself the attractive man she deserves to be with. Heartbreak. Ronnie was initially supportive of my weight loss. She liked the new me and how much energy and confidence I now had. After 1 year I had lost 30 kilograms and hit my ideal body weight. I started lifting and was building muscle mass. Ronnie started getting more insecure in herself. I would reassure her that I had no issues with her weight, but we started getting into more fights. She was annoyed with how I'd always cook my meals and I wouldn't eat out with her as much. I spent all this time at the gym, etc. I was too attractive for her, etc. I would reassure her all the time that this wasn't the case, but things kept getting worse. With 1 year to go, I let Ronnie's father in on the plan. I asked him for his consent to marry Ronnie on the proviso that we'd get married after graduation so that we wouldn't have to worry about a wedding whilst trying for med school. He said yes and was absolutely excited. With 8 months to go, Ronnie started acting really cold and weird. I knew something was up. At first I thought it was the stress of med school entrance exams and coursework. 2 weeks into the coldness, I opened up her laptop to look up this tenancy agreement thing regarding our apartment. I see a messenger message from this guy that was highly suspicious. Ronnie had this friend that looked and acted like that dumb overweight brother from My Name is Earl. He was absolutely ridiculously socially inept, annoying, and very uncultured/ignorant. He was way overweight and had bad BO all the time. He was in the board game/video game/anime clubs with us. Looking over her Skype messages, Ronnie had been complaining to Earlbro about our relationship for the last year or so. Earlbro had confessed his love for her a couple times, which Ronnie had knocked back. 2 weeks ago, Ronnie and Earlbro must have cheated. Earlbro wanted Ronnie to break up with me, but Ronnie was saying this whole thing was a mistake and to shut up. Well, I saw red and immediately packed up my stuff. I printed the messages out. I tell my landlord that I won't be renewing my lease. I text Ronnie that I know and that we are done. I quickly move most of the stuff, I don't have much, most of our stuff was Ronnie's, into my friend's house and tell my friends to shield me from Ronnie. Well, Ronnie found out and went ballistic. She apparently ran home and saw my stuff gone. She went to our mutual friend's house and started bawling her eyes out. She tried contacting me, but my friends deleted all her messages, etc. Apparently Earlbro was a drunken mistake, she never wanted to hurt me, etc. The reason she cheated was because she thought I was getting fit so that I could find a better girlfriend and upgrade from her. What the hell? Could I please meet her for another chance/closure blah blah. I decided I was never going to talk to her ever again, something which I have successfully achieved. Revenge 1. Ronnie's dad started blowing up my phone a day after dumping Ronnie. He aggressively demanded an explanation of why I broke her heart. Her 2 older brothers also called and made threats, etc. I didn't reply to their voicemails. Instead, I sent a huge email out to both Ronnie and my parents. In the email, I wrote out a heartfelt message explaining how I'd envisioned Ronnie and I getting married but she had cheated. I copied in the screenshots of her message, and that I apologize for causing a scene and diminishing our family status. Indians care a lot about family status, but that I'd really like my space so I can concentrate on getting into med school. Within 1 hour of sending the email out, Ronnie's dad phoned up. He was very apologetic. He said his girl was very sorry and it was a mistake. He said he would drive up and beg at my feet to take Ronnie back and offered me money. What the F? I accepted his apology but said I don't want any further contact with her or her family and wished them all the best. A week later, Ronnie's family drove down to our city. They took Ronnie back to their country town and pulled her out of her courses. She didn't graduate on time and couldn't apply for medical school. She returned 1 year later to complete her course but she failed. She ended up living at home unemployed for a year before going into a retail job. She put on massive weight and now looks like a bloody globe. Word got out to the Indian community about her cheating and her family was ostracized. Ronnie is now massively depressed and her family has resented her for bringing down their status in the Indian community. Revenge 2. I went off to med school in another state. A bunch of Indian parents got in contact with me to tutor their kids. One girl I tutored, Amina, blew me away. She was studying science and wanted to get into medicine. She was gorgeous both inside and out. She had a beautiful smile and lit up the room. Most importantly, she had a beautiful soul. She was active in her community and volunteered a lot, not because it would help her get into med school but because she actually cared. After tutoring her for a year, I knew I was in love with her. I asked her out but she declined. She said she liked me too but she is religious and only wants an arranged marriage. Despite not dating her, I knew she was my dream girl, so I contacted my parents. My parents and her parents arranged our marriage on the proviso that we would be engaged for 2 years until both she and I graduate our respective programs. During this time we started dating as fiancés. Weird, I know. Years back, Ronnie and I had made a bucket list of romantic activities we would do together as a couple. Amina found the list. I explained the situation to Amina and she said she liked the list and wanted us to complete the activities with some modifications. We aimed to complete the list before our marriage. Amina took photos and scrapbooked all our memories as we completed them, things like hiking a mountain, salsa dancing, Great Barrier Reef, Rome/Paris, etc. A couple months before our scheduled wedding, Amina published our scrapbook on Facebook. Somehow Ronnie found access to the scrapbook. She sent a scathing message to Amina saying she stole her idea. Amina messaged back a vicious message saying how terrible Ronnie is, how bad it must be to lose someone like me, and that the scrapbook was our idea together before we'd get married. Hearing that I was getting married must have pushed Ronnie over the edge and she threatened to take her life. She had to spend 3 weeks at a mental health ward. It was a massive scandal in our Indian community. This was 3 years ago. Revenge 3. I've been married to Amina for 2 years now and things have been perfect. She is now in med school and I'm a junior doctor. We're trying for a baby now. Last Sunday my father called. One of my dad's friends from another city was trying to arrange a marriage for his son. Ronnie's parents had contacted him with a proposal. My dad's friend called up my dad to get an idea about Ronnie before they introduced her to his son. My dad forwarded my initial email to this guy and then called up and told him Ronnie's story of cheating, dropping out of university, depression, etc. Needless to say, that guy ran for the hills and cancelled the arranged marriage. He was very thankful for my dad's advice and said he would warn the other Indian people in his state about her history. End note. So that's that. In the end, I didn't even have to talk to Ronnie these past years to get my revenge. All of it was delivered on a silver platter by karma. I have a beautiful wife, a job I enjoy, whilst all Ronnie got was misery and self-destruction. All this because I wanted to lose weight before I proposed to her. It's probably not pro-revenge, but I still get a kick out of it, and maybe some of you guys who are unlucky with love will find some peace/joy reading this. Just passing the karma on.